Ever since I built my new desk, I've been trying really hard to keep it minimal and tidy so that there's not a lot of extra junk floating around. And it's not really going that well. And it's tough to keep it clear because I've always got future projects that I'm starting to prototype. I've always got random weird stuff that people want me to recreate. But I've also got a bunch of stuff that I use every single day, and it always lands right here. And since all of this stuff is always right here, I've been wanting to figure out a way to organize it, but I don't want to just have a big tray to dump it all in. It's got to be something that looks nice, something that really organizes the things, and preferably something that other people could use. So I started making a list. And the list was everything that ends up here all the time. There's always something to write on, there's always something to write with, there's always some things to measure with, and there's always SD cards. Plus, that's a problem. You may or may not remember, a few months back, I made a way to hang my phone off the back of my monitor so I could charge it. But the problem is that. And that's not really a problem with the design, it's because my monitor is on a single arm and it bounces around a lot. So I want to take that charger and put it in this organizer. Now there is one other constraint I want to put on this design. I want to have it the exact same width as my keyboard. It can be taller, but I want it to be just as wide. And that's pretty wide. And luckily, this video is sponsored by Bamboo Lab, and they sent me something big. This is the new H2S from Bamboo Lab, and they sent me this printer, but they also sent me a challenge, and that was to make a project with only this machine that is not just 3D printed. And that's possible because this is more than just a 3D printer, but we'll talk about that later. Right now, we need to go start designing. Usually, I like to get a little bit further along in the design before I start test printing because it's wasteful at this point, but there's a couple of things that I have to be able to prove to myself before I move ahead. These are going to be two separate pieces so that the charger section could be on this side if somebody wanted it to be. And since they're separate, that allows this piece to be pretty big. In fact, it's 12.8 inches, which probably doesn't fit on most 3D printers. Look at that thing.
Just look at it.
That's pretty big, and it did fit on the printer, which is great. The H2S has a 340 by 320 by 340 build area, which is like 120% bigger than the X1C that I have from Bamboo Lab. Now that I know that both of these things are gonna do their job, we can start working on the inserts that are gonna go in this section. And I'm making them as inserts so that you can reorder them or swap them out for something else in the future. So the first one we're gonna make is for these. Now that box that sits on top of the printer, that has 4 different filaments in it, and that's called the AMS2 Pro. One of the awesome things about that is not only does it allow multicolor prints very, very easily, because you've got 4 different materials up there, but it's also got a smart drying feature, so it can lower its own humidity and dry out the filaments that you have, which is pretty fantastic. To take advantage of the multicolor printing here in Bamboo Studio, it's actually really easy. There's a paint icon, and then that gives you a bunch of different ways that you can paint this object. If I just click on that face, and then select the color that I want, it's gonna print it in 2 colors. It's that easy. The first print is done. This is the little tray for the pencils. And honestly, the print looks fantastic. It should fit perfectly, but we gotta check. That fit perfectly well, just like I expected it to. Now I'm gonna make another one of those that actually has 2 sections in it instead of just one long thing to hold a tape measure and just, I don't know, some other little stuff. But that's enough for the 3D printing. Right now we need to move on to something that's more than just 3D printing. Now, somebody who makes videos, I have a lot of SD cards and I have 3D printed SD card holders. We could do that and just drop it in here and it would work fine. Or we could class it up a little bit with walnut. Now, obviously you can't do that with a 3D printer, but you can do it with a laser, and the H2S just happens to have a laser attachment. Check this out. This thing's actually kind of expandable. On top of the tool head, there's an attachment point where you can add a digital cutter, like a draw knife where you can cut paper and vinyl and stuff like that. You can put a marker in it so it can draw for you, or you can add the 10-watt laser module. This thing literally just slides onto the tool head. You plug in one thing and then put an air hose in it, and you've got a laser. And so the idea now is that we can use the same machine to cut some walnut for our SD holder. So I designed this. So basically it's an 1/8 inch piece of walnut, and then underneath that there's a little 3D printed tray to stop them from falling through. Those two things will be glued together, but I have to make them separately. Maybe eventually we'll have one machine that can like laser cut one part and 3D print another part and spit them out stuck together, but we're not there yet. So we have to send this profile of this panel out to the software, and then we can cut it just like every other laser. That's pretty cool. Now we got one more thing to make. Now I've got one more thing that I want to make to put in here, and that's a place to write. I end up jotting down measurements and little notes and stuff all the time, and I typically do it on these lined Post-it notes. Each one of these has a sticky top. You can just peel it off and take it to the shop, which is really handy. And so one idea is to make a tray for this to drop down into. That way I can continue to work how I work, peel them off, and take them with me. The problem with that is that as you use these, this gets shorter. Regardless of that, I can still embed one of these pads in the thing and it would work just fine, but I can also just keep one of these around the desk and use it when I need to. The other idea is for this. This is a dry erase marker, and this is a piece of acrylic. And they work really well together, and since we've got a laser, we can cut a piece of this to fit perfectly in there. The acrylic kind of takes a little while to cut, so I've been sitting here thinking, and one of the cool things about this whole idea of having a frame where things can drop in is that obviously you can swap the things out if you want to. And I didn't really expect to do that, but then I got to thinking about maybe specific use cases where if I'm working on a certain type of thing, then I need different stuff here. So theoretically, you could have a drawer somewhere with a bunch of different drop-ins, and you could just put in whatever you need that day. Anyway, it's a cool idea, and if you have other ideas for things that would work in this same situation, let me know down in the comments. Another cool thing about being able to swap what is in this is that it allows for you to be left-handed or right-handed. I'm left-handed, which I think is awesome, but that means that I need my writing surface on this side, whereas a right-handed person would want it on this side. But then if your writing surface is right here, then that means that your phone charger is gonna be kind of in the way of your wrist. So this thing needs to be able to swap to the other side if you're not me, which means we need magnets. Over the years, I've done this a couple of times. You can connect things together with magnets just by modeling in a little opening, like a little impression in the side of something that is the same depth and the same size as a magnet, and then you can glue it in with super glue. And if you put that on this surface and that surface, they snap together. The magnet holes are in place, which means all of this stuff is ready for the final high quality prints. But I had an idea that I'm not gonna do, but I wanted to throw it out there in case somebody else is interested. If you wanted to, you could add a texture to the bottom surface of this tray and then multi-material print it so that the texture was TPU, kind of rubberized, kind of grippy, stuff wouldn't roll around in there. You could very easily do that, and I think it would be cool. I just don't have a good reason. Maybe somebody else can come up with a reason to do that, but I'm not gonna do it right now. I'm gonna print all this stuff in black PETG. It's a material that I like, I know, and black is gonna look really good on the desk. But you could print with really anything, whether it's PET, TPU, ASA, whatever. The H2S printer has a hot end that gets up to like 350C, so it's not gonna have any trouble with any material. And based on the quality of the test prints I've done, I think this thing is gonna turn out awesome. This thing makes my desk way better. The stuff is not rolling all over the place. It's organized, it has a home, and I can change it anytime I want to. If I want to reorder what I have or make new drop-ins, it's super easy. Huge thanks to Bamboo Lab for letting me try out the H2S. If you want to find out more information about that printer, link will be down below in the description. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll catch you next time. But it's got a problem. Well, that's also a problem. You break it. It's not oh, I have to take the laser off. Dang it. It's very, very flexible. Thanks for hanging out with me. But I want it to fit within this, I want it to be just exactly the same width.